in search of workshop leads. June is the prep month, a library of recorded sessions that gets a whole cohort of first to vibe coders ready before the ship a thing this July. If you have built something worth teaching, you have a session to give. Visit ZABALgames.com, that's ZABAL games.com, and sign up. What is the ZABAL Games? 3 months, June, July, August. June is prep with ZABAL teachers, vibe coding instructors run recorded sessions on tools, context, and the ecosystem. July is the open build-a-thon. Anyone with the vibe coding harness ships a build for the ZABAL ecosystem publicly. August is the finals, a cohort curated from July. Each builder paired with a ZABAL mentor for the main event, winner reveal.
Okay, what's up, everybody? We're back for another ZABAL Games workshop. Today, I have Adrienne of GM Farcaster here today. How are we doing today, Adrienne?
What's up? I love that intro, Zal.
Thank you. iMan Africa made it for me. That's the beauty of Web3, the beauty of this permissionless tech. When you share brand assets out there, people can just build on top of it. So I'm sure we're going to be talking a little bit about that today. Very excited to dive into what you've been building here alongside the GM Farcaster podcast, talking about Warpy, the AI agent that lives, breathes, eats a GM Farcaster. So yeah, without further ado, exactly, ready to munch.
And he predates a Warplet. He was the OG Warplet.
Yeah, which is its own like piece of lore in and of itself. When I have conversations outside of Farcaster with my ex-friends, some of these conversations I can't just like crypto and Web3, these pieces of jargon, we've created our own Farcaster jargon with some of the lore. But that's kind of the beauty of this, safe space, this small space, which we're all trying to make a little bit bigger. So without further ado, I'd love for you to give a little bit of a bio, an intro, and then we can just get into building Warpy.
Sure. So yeah, I'm Adrienne Schulman. I am co-founder and co-host of GM Farcaster, which is a live stream news show covering everything that happens across the Farcaster ecosystem. We have been doing it, my co-host and I now, Nish Prof, have been doing it since September 2023, which was shortly before Farcaster actually went permissionless and open to everyone. So we basically, it's like 2 to 3 times a week, we live stream, we talk about everything that's happening. So like you said, kind of all the lore, cultural stuff, announcements, news, one of the cool things about being on Farcaster are just all the different kind of Lego blocks that you can play with and spaces to kind of build on top of. And that was really why I wanted to build Warpy as an AI agent, because we have the podcast. So like podcasts, you can do it on any sort of traditional media, but it was like, how do we use, kind of lean into all the different things you can only do on Farcaster? So wanted to talk a little bit about how Warpy came to be and my experience building it from kind of a, builder tech perspective. And I prepared some slides. I said, I'll probably use them just as like rough background, but Zal, I said, invite people if there's questions as I go, or if you have questions, feel free to interrupt.
Amazing. I'll say one light thing about GM Farcaster before I pop off and away. One of the things I actually really like that you guys do in the formatting of the show is I like the fact that the guest actually comes in midway through, because it gives the opportunity for the chat to get energized, for people to come in, for people to share it out. And then when that individual comes in and joins in, you have this excited and ready chat that's already been having a conversation for 20, 30 minutes. So I just want to say I really like what you guys are doing there with GM Farcaster. And I think it's been a model for me, myself, in seeing you build Warpy for how even just the media of the podcast, for some of the different things I want to do on the media side myself. So yeah, very inspired by you guys and excited to hear more about the creation of Warpy.
Yeah, media is a fun place to experiment with. So my background is in kind of traditional B2B SaaS on the engineering side. So never really got into media, and I fell in love with Farcaster just because I thought it was such a cool place to build on top of. Like, it attracted so many different types of creative people. So now doing GM Farcaster and using the podcast as a way to experiment with all the different kind kind of ways you can use technology and lean into like the new side of new media. And like you said, like the live streams I find really interesting because you have a way to like really connect with audience one-on-one. So I know you do a lot of that as well. So
Yeah, no, I think in this ever so emerging AI content era that we're coming in, live streaming brings authenticity that isn't seen in content today. And I think that's one of the big unlocks here.
and it's the only scarcity left, I think, right? So like if an agent can spin up an agent that can spin up an agent, and they all live stream, like you're still only getting one human. And it may or may not be valuable. We'll have to see. Hard to know what the future brings.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. I think you guys do a great job in bringing the news of Farcaster, it being so specific. I think it's general to everything, but at the same time, you have this like subculture of how can we use decentralized social media and the knowledge of the social graph to level up how connections can be made. And I think GM Farcaster does that great, especially with Warpy and the different ways you guys encourage your listeners to be a part of the community, not just, people who are coming in and listening in, but feel like they're a part of what makes it special. That's
what I love. So we love about it the best too. So this is, I'll kind of go into the history of Warpy then, if we're ready to.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Start. So, like you said, Prof and I have been live streaming GM Farcaster, Farcaster News. We talk about everything that's happening on Farcaster. And a lot of people on the timeline would give us credit and gratitude, and people used to call us the time capsule of Farcaster history. And I loved that because no one else was really recording what was happening on Farcaster as it was happening, except for us. And for people on Farcaster, it moves really fast. I remember early on when we started the podcast, people would say, like, is there really that much to talk about? And we always laugh because we started with our show. We said it was going to be 21 minutes. We were always late. Now we call it 29 minutes, but we stream for about an hour and a half every time because there's always things to talk about. And it's because people are building things. But it also changes so fast. So like how many times do we see projects launch and maybe they gain attention short term, they maybe succeed and go on? A lot of them don't. A lot of them falter and fail. That's the nature of being in an emergent space. Memes pop up, then they die, but we were capturing all that and we recorded it all. So if you go to our YouTube channel, you just see like a billion videos. It's really in the hundreds, but of us talking about things. So when people would come in, especially new people, they'd say things like, oh, what is the story of your background? Like, what is a warplet? What is the mole meme? What is wow, wow? What sort of projects were launched when like people don't have that context? So everyone would tag us and say, Adrienne and Prof, answer that. But like, I'm old and I have no memory. I'm like, I don't remember, but we have that content. It sits in YouTube videos, also Spotify, X, wherever. We also have them as NFTs and they were on multiple platforms. But you couldn't search it because video is not like an inherently searchable. So if you think about like the way you search on Farcaster or X or Google, like it's all text-based and we didn't have text to search. So that was a frustrating point. And it never occurred to me to build search for history. Like it never occurred to me like you could search through it. It was just one of those things that I was like, oh, well, like I knew there was something there. I just didn't know what the solution was. So the way Warpy came to be, like the big aha moment was, it was late 2024. And if you were active on the network at that point, you'll know what I'm talking about. And it was the moment that AI bots exploded on Farcaster. And when I say AI bots, we really call them agents for the first time. I think that was the first time we kind of shifted from like, you have an AI bot. So we used to have like, there were bots on Farcaster, like the Reminded Me bot, which you could tag, or there might be ones that would do like one thing and one thing only. But these were like agents that they showed up as Farcaster accounts. We knew they were AI, so they weren't pretending to be human, but they were way more agentic. So they were transacting on chain. You could have full on conversations. I don't know if you remember, Ethernet was, I think, the biggest one that came out. And I believe this was like because they were built on, it was like a new Anthropic model that came out that was way more conversational. And the ELIZA framework came out. So everyone was building agents. It was so cool. at that moment. And now we take for granted, like, you see the clankers and the nanars on the feed being full, and Bracky being like full, having full personalities. But back then I thought it was so cool. And I just had so much FOMO, and I'm like, I want a bot. GM Farcaster needs a bot. And I had no idea how to build it. At the time, I wasn't like an active developer. But I just remember thinking, like, wouldn't it be cool if there was like a GM Farcaster branded bot that knew everything we talked about? Like, you could ask the bot the question. And I think that's kind of one piece of advice I'd give people if you're thinking about building agents and you're new. Like, if you're a seasoned developer and you've got tons of confidence, like, go at it, do whatever you want to do. But if you're somewhat new, if you're new to vibe coding, you want to build a bot. What I think you should think about is, like, what is the one thing your bot can do that other bots aren't? Like, what your specialty is going to be.
Well said.
Yeah, like, you can't compete. I was like, I'm not going to build Ethernet.
Yeah.
I have no idea how that was built. But Ethernet doesn't know GM Farcaster content.
Yeah, how can you carve out your niche?
Exactly. So, like, what is that? And like, kind of focus on that. And I just remember casting, and this is the other lesson, is like, for better or worse, I build in public. I cast a lot about like, just like train of thoughts. Like, I think something and I cast it. So I probably casted like, ooh, it'd be cool if I could build a bot. I have no idea how to do it. And someone who I knew from Farcaster mutual follows, like, where we're friendly, said like, yeah, you can do it. Like, you can do it. So I might have pinged him back, and he jumped on a call with me, and you'll see that a lot in Farcaster. People like are pretty generous with their time. And we just kind of talked through, we spent 30 minutes, and he just kind of talked through, like, here's how to think about what a bot is. Here's what you would do for an MVP. Here's how you can make your episode searchable. And it was like just enough that I was like, okay. Oh, and it was also the time when he's like, and also download Cursor and use AI.
That makes a big difference, I'm sure, using a different tool.
And this was this is now a year and a half ago. So like, the AI coding agents have gotten so much better, but this was before Claude Code, before Codex. Cursor had integrated AI. So kind of like, he gave me some tools, he pointed me in the right direction, and it was enough to build an MVP.
I love that. Toria mentioned here, I've often thought about trying to build a bot for the Rise Up morning show, similar to what you built, Adrienne, but it seems daunting. And I would say, Tori, to that, just like Adrienne said, I think you just start somewhere and ask questions along the way. Both Adrienne and I'm sure, would be happy for you to tag us. I would love to see it. I would love to help out in any way, shape, or form. So I think try it out and then ask questions. That's the best thing you can do.
Yeah. And I think the best thing to think, it's just like, create the bot, build it in steps and iterations. So like, think about what is the smallest thing you can do to get something live. So build a bot. I think you said, what was the morning show? It was a Rise Up
morning show.
Okay. You build a bot, you call it the Rise Up morning show bot, give it a name, whatever. It can do nothing, but when someone tags it, it can say, good morning, how was your day? Like, it doesn't have to do anything. It just, you get that, round trip.
I still remember the first time I made a calculator with code, right? It's this, like, it can be the most simple thing, but once you do it once, you realize you can do it, and you just iterate on top of that, right?
Yeah. So Zal, how are we doing on timing? Should I talk through kind of like what is behind Warpy from a technical
I'd say let's send it because I don't know. I think we'll just do questions as people come. I'd say, yeah, let's rock through the 30 minutes. And and if anyone has questions, just ask.
So I'm going to just explain for people who maybe I'm going to assume this is kind of like vibe coding, newish to coding, but just maybe understands a little bit. But like, conceptually, how do you think about what an AI agent is on Farcaster? And like the different components. So one, and I said one, but it's number 2 on my slide, but you actually need to create the Farcaster account. And I did this manually. Like, you could spin it up with code as well and use.
I ended up trying to use the code, and it was a pain in the ass.
But I just went to farcaster.xyz. It said create a new account. I put in a new email address, and I was like, Warpy. So, and actually, I'm not logged in here, but like, I can log in as Warpy. It's not a agent. It's just an account, but that's kind of like the shell. And then what you want to do is you create a public facing API that will get called anytime someone tags your bot. So the way it works is, like someone will cast on Farcaster and tag Warpy. I use Nanar webhooks. They make it really, really easy. They have a generous free tier now, where you basically say, hey, in Nanar dashboard, anytime someone tags Warpy, what you do is you just call this API function. And that's what this is in the center. And all you have to do as a developer is expose an API. So then the API is just a self-contained function that will execute whatever you tell it to do. So in this function, so for Warpy, what Warpy does is it reads your question and it goes and searches in the MVP, it goes and searches through our transcripts of everything we've ever talked about. It formulates a reply. It uses an LLM to generate the reply. And the last step of the API is it posts the reply back to Farcaster. And that's that's simple.
I love it. It's so simple when you say it like that, right? Sometimes people have it in their head that there's so much going on, but when you break it down into the smallest simple step, right? And what can you do? Make an account, have it be able to reply like we were saying, and all it taking is creating one API, exposed API. Looking at it like that, it makes it a lot less daunting.
Yeah. And I think if you want to build in steps, like forget about AI agents, like don't have it do this agentic, do a million things, but just think of like, what is a bot you could do? So, you could have something come in and you could only respond to when you tag me and ask, what time is it? And, like it's the what time is it bot, and your code can just say, reply to Farcaster current time. And that's all you have to do. And then you can start building in, okay, now how I'm going to answer different types of questions. The other thing that I'll just kind of share for people who maybe have media or want to like broadcast, search through text. The piece that I had to understand, which I'd never done before, was like, how do you do natural language search over video transcripts? So one, I had videos. How do you search through videos? You can't. So what I had to do was just generate text transcripts for every episode. This was easy to do with modern tooling and open source frameworks and APIs, but I used something called DeepGram, and I ran a utility that basically like scrapes through every video that I had and creates a text transcript. So now for every video I have, I've got a text transcripts. In my MVP, they were just like in the code base as files. I later moved them to S3 in AWS. I later put some of them in a PostgreSQL database, but for the MVP, it was just simple. Like, here's the text. It's integrated into the code base. I did it for 10 episodes at first just to test to see if you could do it. But now that you've got text transcripts, theoretically, you can now search through them. Okay, so now I can search through the transcripts. But the way you do natural language is with something called embeddings and a vector database. And what it is, it's basically creating like you're putting numerical representation of all your text. And you put in a vector database. You don't really need to know how to do this. All the super smart math, physics, and EE majors did this. You can just do OpenAI. Like I use an OpenAI model that basically said, take this text, store it as numerical embeddings, put it into a vector database. And I used, is it a pine tree? Which one is? I forget which one it is. Pine cone.
Pine tree is on Farcaster, if that's what you're posting. Yeah.
And you put in that database. So then when the text comes in, so when someone asks me a question, hey, Warpy, explain to me where the warplet came from, you just convert that text using the same embedding model. So you convert that to numbers and you send it to your vector database and say, give me similar numbers. And it gives you similar numbers, but it comes back as transcript text.
That's very cool. I'm not going to lie, I'm not doing that. So that's good to know because I'm just doing a very basic search over everything, right? And just understanding the word to use, vector database, right? And go learn a little bit more about that, right? And that in and of itself is very helpful. Tori was saying
exactly what the guy told me, Zal, on the call. Like, that's what I didn't know. Like, I didn't know, I'd heard of embedding.
Terminology.
I didn't really understand. Okay, now I need to know. I need to store my plain text transcripts as in a vector database as embeddings. Mm-hmm. Okay, now, and then the way the LLM call works is ultimately, if you want your agent to feel human, you don't hard code personality. You basically hand it over to an LLM prompt, and you basically tell the LLM prompt, "Hey, you're Warpy. you're a bot on GM Farcaster. You know GM Farcaster, the user is asking this question and you pass that in as context. And you're going to answer it given this additional context or knowledge I'm giving you. So all the transcript snippets that came back from the vector search, I send that into the prompt as well. And
That's
then
cool.
and then the LLM just answers, and whatever the LLM answers is what gets written out.
That's awesome. We had a question actually earlier, and I don't know if you'll
Mhm.
know the answer to this, but we can definitely talk about it. Has anyone used Nanar Studio and completed a bot or exported into a repo and continued? And I know both me and Adrienne probably have less experience with Nanar Studio, just because it's amazing for someone who's trying code out for the first time, but it can be a little bit limiting for someone who wants the full capacity of what you can do with
Mhm.
building with code. But I do like that they changed it more recently in the last couple of months so that you can export all of the code, which is great. So you can start there, and then build it out after that if you want to. So that'd be my answer to you, Alpen. And then Alpen also said building a mini app and did reach a limit with design, but also there will be an agent and just curious. So yeah, I'd say like Adrienne was saying earlier, build in public. That what you just said, Adrienne, is something that I've been loving about Farcaster the most, is just like sharing my daily updates of how I'm moving forward. And in that, I've learned so much because someone's like, wait, why aren't you doing this? I'm like, I don't know. Why should I be doing this? Right. And then these conversations really flow into someone that might know just a little bit more than you, giving you the right terminology to then go and attack it like you want to.
+1 to building in public. I search my casts for like Warpy and building. It used to be called GMFC 101 because I originally started. And I was like, oh my God, it was a whole history of like me struggling with things in public and getting answers. So definitely encourage you to keep doing that. All right. So that was like V1 of, so late 2024, I started in like December. I probably launched it like the very, very basic MVP in December. And I was so proud of it. It was like birthing a baby. It was so, and that was really one of the first projects I did as like a hands-on dev after taking like a 15-year hiatus from doing hands-on stuff. But this is what you'll see. So like if you're new, like, and maybe we don't even need to go into this too far, you will launch something and it won't be everything, and that's okay. Like you don't know what you're going to struggle with until you do it. So like figure out what is the smallest MVP, which is minimal viable product, like this very smallest thing that you can get out just so you can have something. Then just start using it, play with it, and you figure out like what goes wrong, and then that will dictate what you do next. So I just had a whole bunch of major issues with our bot. I think probably the hardest one was like, it was still like, it did one thing and one thing well, which is like, it searched through our transcripts for when we
Yeah.
asked something. So if you asked it, when is the next show? Guess what it would do?
Wouldn't give you a good answer or give you a past answer.
What, right. It would like search through our transcripts for when we said, when is the next show?
Yeah.
Like or if it was like, hey,
And this
what's
is I was just going to say, this is a really interesting conversation about agents that I was having a short conversation with Chris yesterday about, like, when is it appropriate to build out another agent, right? When is it the right time to now say, hey, I want this agent and we're going to have Warpy just be the transcript guy. And this agent, anytime they know they have to go to the transcript, they're going to go to Warpy now first instead of, now you have another layer on top of it, right? And it becomes a little bit more recursive. But does that need to be a whole nother agent, right? Like, do we just need to create the memory such that it's the same agent, but it understands where it is in the flow? And I think the beautiful part is this is an unsolved problem. So everyone that's out there trying things out is learning more and more, and there's no like one right answer.
Yeah. And I think the way agents are going, which is like they used to be kind of like purpose built, like I did one or two things or three things well. And they're now like the new paradigm is really, instead of telling the agent, hey, kind of like, here are the things, here's the one thing you can do or two things, you basically give it a library of tools to use or skills, and it goes into its own, what they call an agentic loop. So whereas before, I even built Warpy as like post MVP, but before its newest incarnation, I was like, okay, people are asking different types of questions. So I used something called a workflow router pattern, which basically said, hey, now you have 3 things, call one of these 3 routes, but it still only went to one route and that was it. So an agentic loop is, just imagine almost like an infinite loop where you're saying, this is the user's question. These are the various tools you have. You're going to go and figure out which tool you think you should call, like which makes most sense. You're going to look at the input or the output of that tool and decide whether that answered the question. If it didn't, you can call another tool. So you're really letting it be way more agentic. You have to, obviously, you'll put in some kind of like escape hatches, like you can do max 5 tool calls or 10 tool calls, so it doesn't go on forever. And but that's what Warpy is now, which is an agentic loop. So now, instead of having to like go into the code and change the shape of the code, you just add an additional skill. So like Warpy started with being able to search transcripts, but now he can show summaries. And that's going to be a different thing, because a summary will pull like, what are the most important things? It's more topic based. It can do show listings. So that's like, how many times has Zal been a guest is different than when did I talk about Zal?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like metadata.
You're adding more parameters in that metadata, so it knows more information and context, right? As opposed to just like a large text, right?
It has knowledge on the CEF. That's a new skill. Hey, by the way, you have a new skill. You're aware of the CEF, and here's the information you know. So it's just, when it goes time to making, Warpy becomes so much more self-improving. And I also told Warpy he needs to improve himself. So every answer he logs in a log. I haven't even reviewed the format of the log. It's it doesn't matter, because now I tell him, go review your recent answers and see how well you did. And he judges himself, and then he'll make his own, he'll suggest his own improvements and update his own code. And when I say him, it's really Claude Code doing it. So.
I love that. There's so many pieces to the recursive side of coding that is so much more powerful now that you can just do an infinite amount of simulations, essentially.
So that's it. I share, and I know we're up on time in a few. I'll share these slides, so for people who want to dig in further.
Yes. I'll pop it in the description too, which would be great.
And then if people want to, you should, if you're watching this right now and you're on Farcaster, tag Warpy. It's I call him Warpy, but it's .eth is his here he is. It's warpy.eth. So right now, tag him and ask him a question and see if he answers. But
I'm doing it right now as well. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm pulling in Adrienne.
It's the best. And I'll just show like other Farcaster tools. Like this is like a tool I have that I can cast as Warpy. I built this so that Nounish Prof and I can both use it. So GM. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I should say ZM.
Yes.
Excited to be with Zal. Are you an ETH or are you just Zal?
No, just Zal. That's why I love Farcaster. It's my favorite social media because I have the @Zal.
All right.
That's cool. What permissions are you using for this? Like what secret variables do you need to cast as Warpy? Like if someone wanted to copy this for their own account.
I created a signer using Nanar.
Okay.
So I was using Nanar tooling, but you basically create a signer. So I'm logged in as Warpy on my phone and I approve it. And then I get an ID that I can cast.
So you and Nounish Prof have to sign the signer once at the very beginning before using it, or just one of you guys?
It's just whoever. It's actually the Warpy account, and that's.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, but because it's so there it is. So there's the cast. But I built it as a UI, like in our admin tools. So that means anyone can now call that who has access to our admin tools. Like anyone can cast.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I don't have to if you're looking to share,
you don't have to redo it. Yeah, that's cool.
You don't want to share like a seed phrase, like you can kind of abstract it away.
I love it.
So
amazing. We got a couple people saying they really appreciate this. Alpin said, I really appreciate this, but I have imposter syndrome, but building Fitcaster and will build in public. And then Arjun, shout out Arjun, appreciate you for coming in, asked, what's Fitcaster? And that's where we're at currently. So I would love to hear, Alpin, feel free to, tag us on the timeline. I love the building in public energy. It's my favorite thing. Like, I love the idea of not feeling like before you post something, it's perfect. I think that is like the biggest challenge entrepreneurs, musicians, artists, all people like have to get through at some point is like understanding that some imperfect things just need to go out there because otherwise you're never going to submit it.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well, Adrienne, do you want to share how people can get in touch with you if they want to reach out?
At Adrienne on Farcaster, at Age Shulman on Twitter, X. I guess that's the best way. I follow GM Farcaster everywhere as well.
Yes.
And,
amazing. Definitely
yeah,
check out the podcast. I have been an avid listener dash viewer since I started because for me it's my ability to capture all of the news that I might not hit on the timeline all in one place, which is really helpful. And if I miss it, I can always tag Warpy and ask. Oh, we got one last question before we go from Arjun. Do you need a specific Warpy account for the Nanar signer, or can you do that from your own account?
Yes, to cast as Warpy, you need a Warpy signer. To cast as yourself, like, I don't know if I understand the question, but like, if I wanted to automate casts as me, I would need my own signer. Like, it's specific to the bot account.
Yeah, feel free to tag us in the timeline with more questions, Arjun, on that specifically, and we'll try and sort it out. Awesome. Well, I appreciate everyone who came in. Thank you so much, Adrienne, for sharing. This was really helpful for me, and I know the rest of our community. So appreciate your time, and thanks everyone for popping in.
Okay, just to answer Arjun's question, and I know you got to go. On the Nanar side, no, I'm logged in as it's my Nanar account. I can add signers for like a billion bots, as many infinite bots through my own Nanar account. I think that was a question. And Zal, I'll just reiterate what you said. And also, like, every single person in the world has imposter syndrome out there.
Yeah.
Everybody started from like nothing. Everybody appears smarter than they are and more capable than they actually are, and all inside. And the best thing is like, yeah, share your learnings, build in public. This is all new. Like, it's not like we've been building agents. Your grandfather wasn't building agents. You didn't come from a long line. Like, your last name isn't agent son. So have fun and don't be worried about looking stupid in public, because I do it every day.
I love that. And also, like, that's the beauty of Farcaster. I find that my build in public posts on Farcaster and doing a lot better than the build in public posts on other platforms. So it's a beautiful part about building on Farcaster is it's a good environment for that as well. So awesome. So it looks like you answered Arjun's question. Appreciate you for coming in, Arjun. And thank you again, Adrienne.
All right. My pleasure.
We'll see y'all soon.